Good afternoon. How is everybody? Let me see. Do we have videos of anybody? Looks like we've got 7 participants here. Okay.
I'm here.
Hi, Elena.
Hi, Derf.
And looks like we got some veteran agents here. Okay. Let's start. I'm sure everybody knows, since we've gone through these Zoom meetings so many times, that if you have your video on, you can just raise your hand. You can use the chat button at the bottom if you have questions, or you can just unmute yourself and yell at me, and I'll be glad to give you the microphone here if you have any questions. So as I start off most of my meetings, this is the most important meeting of any. Prospecting. Prospecting is the heart and soul of being successful in real estate. And as I stated, it is the most important meeting of all of the workshops that we offer. And it's usually the least attended. A lot of our workshops, we'll get 20, 30 people. And my prospecting one, historically, this is over the years, I might get a dozen agents. So what I've come to believe is that most agents out there know that they aren't doing what they should be doing in their prospecting. So if that's the case, that's fine. But I am here if you have any questions about prospecting, or if you would like to actually do a plan, a marketing plan to increase your prospecting. How are we doing, Danny? Okay, so before we get into this, and for today, since we do have some veterans here, I'm going to talk mostly, I'm going to go quickly through our booklet, How to Prospect and Market, that's available on the TRG website. That's the bottom one there that Danny's pointing out on that PDF. Again, that's our TRG website. Sign in using our agent code, and you can download lots of good stuff. What we just added today is a virtual open house guide by Tom Ferry. I believe it's like 3 or 4 pages, and it basically goes through the process of doing a virtual open house. So this is when you, as the listing agent or any agent that wants to do a virtual open house, has enough contacts that you can notify about this open house that will attend and watch it. So this could be your sphere of influence, it could be prospective buyers, it could be past clients thinking about moving up, whomever, but it's a neat way under these COVID times to be able to do an open house. And he goes, it's a very specific plan as to how you can set up this virtual open house. The bottom line is you do a video through the property. You can do it yourself or with the seller, and show the features of the property. Okay, so this is my booklet, Prospect and Marketing. I go through, this is mainly for a new agent. I go through telemarketing, hold on here for a second, telemarketing, direct mail, FSBO, expired listings, and then I have some solicitation letters in there. Whatever you as an agent, whatever you want to take on, I'll be glad to meet with you individually, work out a marketing plan, and give you some guidelines as to how to do that plan. All right, so we're not going to go through all of these today. I'm just going to kind of briefly go through the book. An interesting picture here. This first page here is buying and selling timeframes. As you know, when you prospect and when you work with clients, it's always better to deal with sellers, especially in a market like this when almost everything that comes up on the market is going to relate to a commission at some point. But this study by NAR shows that sellers typically take 9 months in the process of when they're deciding whether they should sell, active searching, and actual selling. It's a 9.3-month process, where buyers, and I'm sure you veteran agents know this, it's a much longer process. The 16.7 months is probably optimistic because I know a lot of us, we work with buyers and they never purchase, or they buy out of state to where a commission is never generated by the agent. So obviously we want to focus our energies so that we work more on sellers for the career realtor. Okay, and let's kind of move on through here. I've got this broken up in our booklet. We start with an open house. I'm going to just leave this for you to go through. I always talk length for a long time on open houses because that was my go-to for prospecting. When I was new in the business, this is before married with children, I had, my goal was to do 4 open houses a week, every Saturday and Sunday, and at least a couple during the week. The weekday open houses would typically be from like 4 to 6 o'clock when people were coming home from work. And my goal was, out of these 4 open houses, was to find 1 good buyer per week. And that's out of the 4 open houses. And that amounts to 4 to 5 buyers a month. In a period of 3 or 4 months, you'll have a dozen plus good buyers, and you'll have to start throwing out buyers that don't respond to you timely or to your lender for that pre-approval. So that was my go-to. I was 20 years old. I had my peers were not buying houses at that time, and so that was my #1 way to prospect, especially for buyers and for sellers in those areas. So the open house, I can talk for hours on that. If this is your focus or going to be your focus, let me know, and I'll be glad to work with you individually on that. As most of you know, farming is the #1 way to success in your real estate career over the years and over the decades. I still don't know of a better way to establish long-term relationships and clients that will keep coming back to you. A successful farm, it may take years to develop, but once it's developed, the agent can focus just on that farm, and they're able also to take vacations and take time off, have an assistant cover for them, because this will be ongoing. These clients in this farm will continue to work with this agent and use them for their real estate questions and their real estate transactions. Do we have any specific questions about farming?
Derf?
Yes.
It's regarding the open house. Now that we can't do that, I guess the other alternative would be what you are about to talk about now with the farming. There is no projected time for the open house to be allowed to happen again at the moment, right?
We are doing open houses. It's just that they have to be by appointment only. So
right, but then that kind of open house, which brings a buyer with another agent, that's not the one I care. I wanna meet new clients. That was actually my source of business, and now the only way I can meet new clients would be by calling or I don't know, maybe not even door knocking, right? I mean, it's only sending something on the mail.
Well, I would definitely look at Tom Ferry's booklet there on doing a virtual open house, because that is an option that you can do today. But specifically, the old school open house, we're going to have to wait a few months.
Yeah. Okay.
For that.
I'll continue listening. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Again, we're talking about specifically about farming. Okay, so I'm going to come back to a couple ways that, well, let me talk a little bit just on the basics of farming, even for the veteran agents out there. Farming works. You know, when I was new in the business, sellers moved every 3 to 5 years. So if you picked an area, what most trainers use is an area of 500 homes. If sellers are moving every 3 to 5 years, if we take that 5 years, that means there's 100 transactions per year in that farm. It may take you a while to be known as the specialist in that area, but a good farmer that locks up a neighborhood should be able to get 50% of those transactions. That would equal 50 transactions a year. And that does not include referrals, double ends where a seller may be selling their home but buying in another area in which you're representing them, family and friend referrals, or just purchasing other properties or other investment properties. So that 50 transactions a year is what you're shooting for. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, the numbers have changed over the decades, and the latest statistics I heard, this is about a year ago, is that most sellers are keeping their homes for an average of about 10 years. So that would mean if you're in an area of 500 homes for your farm, you're looking at 50 transactions a year. If you're going to get 50% of those, you're getting 25, plus the referrals, plus the double ends, etc. So 25 transactions. The difference today is that you know, these commissions are in the $700,000 to $1 million price range for most homes in the area. So to do 25 transactions a year, you're going to be our top producer in the company. So, and this will go on for years, if not decades, as long as you maintain your activity in that farm. The problem with farming that I've been involved with over the years is that with agents is the time it takes to become that specialist in that farm area. Most of the time it takes about 5 years of monthly contacts. And just to kind of give you a brief overview of this, as the veteran agents know, you know, when you walk through a farm, if your goal is to go through it once a month, the chances you may only hit about 10% of the actual people that are home, get a chance to talk to them. You go through it the next month, you'll get 10% of those homeowners. A lot of them will be the same homeowners. And at the end of a year, you may only have talked to 40 or 50 of the 500 homeowners. Some you may have talked to many times and may have a relationship with those, but the majority of homeowners you do not know, you do not have a contact or a warm contact with them. And statistics say that clients have to meet you, have to see you 9 times to have a 90% chance of recalling who you are. So just going through a farm and saying hi to someone once a year does not make them a warm contact or that they're going to be contacting you. So you need to have that 9 contacts as quickly as possible so that those people will actually know who you are and what you're doing out there. All right, so your typical farm, that's why it takes years to develop that, and most agents don't want to take the time nor the money involved in establishing that farm. But we have lots of great examples in our company of farmers that have been doing this for decades, that can work with the new agent and help them establish their farms. All right, so we're going to get into some little hybrids of this later on, but let's go through this book and see if there's any other questions that we have before we get into some modern day prospecting. Most title companies have a good resource for that. There's good articles in here. Another one is the phone farm. I use this booklet also in my college courses, and I require my college real estate students to write a paper about how they are going to be prospecting once they have their real estate license. And we go through about a dozen different ways to prospect. The least requested is phone calling. So personally, I think it's the most effective, it's the least expensive, it takes the least amount of time, but the idea is that most people just don't want to bother people and make cold calls. But I've got a great phone farm plan. If you're interested in that, meet with me and I'll be glad to show you how you can get phone numbers and what you can do to establish yourself quickly and get about 100 contacts within a matter of 2 months. These are contacts that you've made these 9 personal meetings with. For sell by owner, just like expired listings, I've done this in the past. It's a great way to prospect. And as you'll see in this booklet, the whole idea between any plan is to establish your establish your work plan. So you plan to work and then you work your plan. It's that simple. And overall today, my major point that I want to get across to you is that even though there's a dozen ways to prospect, you really only need to find one way to prospect and be the best at that. Whether it's doing open houses, 4 or 5 times a week, whether it's just doing for sale by owners or expired listings, you only have to excel at one way of prospecting, and you'll be very successful and one of our top producers easily at TRG. Okay, what else we got here? And I want to go into some specifics.
One quick question, Derf.
Yes.
The fact that we cannot do open house because of the COVID guidelines.
Yes.
Let's suppose that I would decide to do on Wednesday an open house on my listing, which I will not advertise. Don't just put signs in the corner and in the front of the house. Would I be in trouble by doing that?
Well, I believe you can actually post a virtual open house on the MLS. Is that right, Danny? Yeah. So the MLS allows that virtual posting, and as long as it's by appointment only, you can stick your signs up and everything, but they have to call you and make an appointment. And or I should say, when you have read all of the COVID disclosures, you will realize that when you're showing a home, there can only be one party in the home at a time. So,
right.
So that's why it has to be by appointment. The last listing
that I understand, and I know. I was just curious because I know that there have been some agents doing open houses, and you could see the signs in the corner. Maybe they have been doing it according to the regulations that you were telling, but I was just curious whether if I'm doing an open house and maybe someone wants to come in and I say you have to wait until the person who's looking at the house right now is out, but still without the appointment, just the walk-ins, but they have to wait. Would I be in trouble? Could someone put me in trouble? Could someone denounce me that I am doing something that I'm not supposed to? That's actually, I don't know if again, I should even ask this question.
Yeah, the only rules that I'm aware of is, as stated in that best practices that you have posted on the door there that the seller signed. And so you just have to follow those guidelines. So in other words, you have to use social distancing, they have to have masks. So as
Right.
long as they're waiting, for example, on the open house we had, we actually had a couple people that called us and we said, yeah, come on in. We will fit you into our open house, and we just had them wait until there was an opening. And we scheduled
I see.
appointments, I think every 15 minutes,
Yeah.
which we
I did
probably
that
could have
too,
done
yeah.
every 10 minutes instead of every 15 minutes. But I don't see any, personally, I don't see any reasons why you can't advertise this open house, why you can't even put flyers and flags and signs out. But I would state on those advertisements that they need to call and make an appointment for that open house.
Okay, sounds very good. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Other questions out there? All right, so
Hi,
let's
this
go.
is, I just had a super quick question.
Sure.
I apologize. I came in 10 minutes late. I was on a call with a new client. When you were talking about a prospect of 500, this is a newbie question. One of my prospect categories are out-of-state owners. So I wrote 142 letters to owners that are out of state. Would that be part of the 500 in the farm, or is that totally different?
No, that could be your farm. In fact, that
That is
leads
part of the
me.
5? Okay.
Yeah,
my
if you're just going to use out-of-state owners, that's a great way to niche market. And over the years, that's my presentation basically today, is niche marketing. It's been my experience, and I'm sure most veterans, when you talk to them, the successful agents over their career, and let me interject here that the statistics that we hear from NAR is that 90% of full-time agents only make it their first 2 years. So that's a pretty high dropout rate for this industry. And it's usually because they don't have some formalized plan for their marketing. Niche marketing is the way to go, and that can be a geographical farming, like a lot of our veteran agents do. It can be out of state property owners that you want to contact them and farm them exclusively. I've got a list here. It could be just family and friends, what we call a sphere of influence, people that you know. It can be a geographical farm, but it could have specifics, like I know agents that just farm condos, agents that just farm properties on the strand or waterfront properties that are just view properties. And so the idea is that whatever this niche is, and I'll go through some more here, that you become the best, you become that specialist in that. Just like a geographical farm. When I lived in downtown Torrance, our neighbor, a Century 21 agent, was the farmer. And if I had a buyer for that downtown historic area down there, I would call her up, and Janice Plank, and she was the one that knew that area better than everybody, and knew what was coming up. So you become the specialist, and other agents will use you when they have buyers for that particular market. So again, other niche marketing ideas might be fixers, where you just specialize in doing fixers or first-time buyers. You can also, like we mentioned, do for sale by owners or expired listings.
Thank you.
And you can also base your marketing just on a price brand, like maybe under 500,000. It might be difficult around here, but we, in fact, our Nicole, and I know you're working those NACA loans,
Yes.
along with a couple of our other agents. Amanda, I think when she started her first couple of years, her average price was under 500,000. So, and those were first-time buyers. So that in my book, that's a niche market, and those are the agents that do better. and stay in this career for a much longer time. So if nothing else that you take away from today's meeting is find that niche that you want to work with. What we call a sphere of influence, and this is basically the same numbers as whether it's a geographical farm or an out-of-state farm, is we like to have 300 to 500 people. So the goal is once you have 500 people that know you, know that you're that specialist in real estate, you don't have to do any more cold calling. You don't have to add any more to this sphere of influence. You just have to maintain contacts with them, whether it's on a monthly, weekly, quarterly basis, but you have to maintain that contact so that when they decide to buy or sell, or they have a referral for you, that they will think of you before anyone else. And the old saying is if you don't have a friend in real estate, you don't have any friends at all. So it's important. It's important that you maintain this level of communication and this contacts with this sphere of influence.
My second question is super quick. Because I am new, I'm entering my 3rd month, should I go for more than 500 people, maybe 600 or 700 to strengthen my chances, or would that probably be unmanageable? I do now have CRM programs and things in place to help me stay really organized with every campaign and every category. Should I go higher?
Well, Nicole, I'm actually going to close this meeting and give you some pointers on numbers and contacts. And you impressed me when you started at TRG, and you made that commitment to make those 25 contacts per day on a daily basis, right? So I'm going to close. That's my close today. But to answer your question about that 600 or 700, I'd rather see you with 300 or 400 people that really know you, right? These are people that you have made these 9 contacts with, whether they're personal, on the phone, responding by email, so that it's a warm and fuzzy contact at this point and not a cold contact. So, just listing 500 names isn't going to do you any good. You've got to have those nine contacts. And I would rather you cut your top number to get that 200, 300 that really know you. Most brand new agents that I start out with, I not for you, Nicole, but most new agents, I try to get them to commit to getting 100 contacts within 90 days. I would guess that most of our agents at TRG probably don't have 100 contacts that are warm and fuzzy. But if you work towards that, your sphere of influence, this could be family, friends, coworkers, or whatever, that 100 people is going to give you 10 transactions a year. And that's going to keep your career going. That's for each 100. So that's important. These are people that know you, like you, and will use you for their real estate transactions. So focus on quality contacts, not just having a list of a lot of names. I hope that helped, Nicole.
It did. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Other
I sent you a message too.
Other questions out there? Okay. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to, I want to hit on today. Because of this COVID, and as those that are active in the marketplace know, these prices have taken a real jump here in these past few months. And when we talk to other companies in other states that are actually past us in the COVID restrictions, they're seeing even more real estate activity, mainly based on these low interest rates. And so what that means, it's a shortage of listings, it's a shortage of inventory. And so a lot of brokerages are having less activity because there's less properties out there to see. So listings are the king. It's important to know where this market is headed. In fact, Danny and I, we just got a great article today on, this is from on interest rates. What was it, from the New Yorker? From a New Yorker magazine. They just did it, no, it's Bloomberg's. I'm sorry, it's Bloomberg's. That they just did a poll of economists, and they're looking at these low rates for the next 5 years. So I'm hoping that's true, but that just means that the activity is going to be hot. Last few listings that we've personally had, we've had multiple offers, and anything that's priced right in the company, you'll get multiple offers on. So anything that you can do to work towards those listings, get those. And then what the hot tip I have for you today is I see agents that have listings that have expired or that didn't sell a year ago. Well, today, those things would be bought up immediately. So for those that want to work and do expired listings or off-market listings, go back 6 months or go back a year, and these sellers may be surprised to learn that the market is as hot as it is, and they can probably get more than what they were asking just 1 or 2 years ago. So, and there's a lot of expired, there's a lot of off-market listings, but that's going to be your niche if that's what you want to take on for those expireds or off markets. Okay, let me give you a couple of stories then on some agents. I've got another one on farming here, and I think we had. We have here, in fact, Carol Gillis is one of our farmers, and Susan, also Charlene. They've been farmers for decades, so they're a good source to take out to lunch if you want to get some tips on starting a geographical farm. Yeah, and Scott, oh, that's right, is Scott online with us? Yeah. Hi, Scott. Nice happy face there. Scott's been farming in a Lomita tract now for, I'm guessing, 10 plus years. And I think that's the source of most of his business. So he's also another guy I would encourage you to take out to lunch. So there's a couple ways as a new agent coming into farming that you can use a hybrid farm instead of picking the typical area of 500 homes and trying to see everybody out there making those 9 contacts. What I've seen as successful is there's a couple things. One is a hybrid geographical farm, and this is where instead of an area of 500 homes, you might take 1,500 or 2,000 homes, maybe in a certain zip code or something that will link these homes together so that you can specialize in this area. And as you go through that farm, you focus on only those people that you can talk to. So again, if you're looking at each month, if you go through and you're only being able to talk to 10%, focus on them. Hit them up with your plan. And if you've noticed my marketing plan for farming, I call it guerrilla marketing. Whereas instead of going through your farm once a month, you go through it once a week, because you don't have 5 years to wait to establish yourself in this area. But with this hybrid farm, you may only be hitting up maybe 1 or 2 homeowners on each block. And these are homeowners that you've talked to previously. They've been positive. They talked to you because those are the ones that you want to work with. Not necessarily selling their home, but getting referrals or keeping you up on the neighborhood activities. So the idea is that even though you have a farm area of 1,500 or 2,000, you may only have 100 or 200 actual homeowners that you talk to, but you're going to have them within a year, because you're going to be seeing them, you're going to be handing them information on the market and keeping them updated about real estate. And everybody that I've talked to, because that know that I'm in real estate, they always ask me about the market, because everybody has questions as to what's going on. And there's lots of rumors out there that, oh, we're headed for a crash, that interest rates are going to go up, and all these doom and gloom. But you can provide them with economists and specialists in these different fields that show them at least what their predictions are. And I'm not seeing any of the doom and gloom coming from the professionals. Okay, so that's one hybrid. Another story I like to talk about is one of our former agents, John Hunter. He was actually in the mortgage business, didn't do well, came into real estate, worked with us for a couple of years, just did a few transactions. And I think it was about his third year here at TRG. He subscribed to this farming software. Do you remember what the name of that? It was like a Zip Code Plus or
Smart Zip.
maybe it might have been called Smart Zip. There's a couple of companies out there that provide this, and what they do. Yeah, and what they do is they will you give them boundaries for your geographical farm, and again, you're going to go larger than that 500. You're going to go 1,500 or 2,000 homes, and then they're going to come back to you with a list of sellers that are most likely to sell. And this was unique, a unique service and software about 4 or 5 years ago, which now our own title rep, Robert No, can get to you for free in your geographical farm. The difference when you subscribe to a service, and John Hunter, he was paying $500 a month for his service. So I think when you're paying that kind of money, you want to be a little more focused, and you don't want to be wasting that hard-earned cash. And so what this software program does is it analyzes this farm area, and each day it gave John 10 to 20 leads where he was told that he had to go out, knock on the door, and physically talk to these people and offer his services. What's unique about this program, and specifically with John Hunter, is that he never printed any flyers. He never did any giveaways. I mean, when I farmed, I did pumpkins and flags, and there's a whole list of stuff that you can do in your farm area. John never did anything more than print business cards. And so he would go out, but he was religious at every morning. He would go out and make his 10 to 20 contacts. I mean, it's not a lot. It's probably a couple of hours at the most in making these. But he did it every day. And it gave him, in the first year of him doing this with this software, he brought in over $500,000 in commissions. And the reality is he only worked 10 months. He didn't even work the 12 months. His dad was out of state and got ill, and so he took a couple of months off to stay with his dad. But in a 10-month period, to be able to generate $40,000, $50,000 a month, and I think he still holds the record. He had 6 closings in 1 month here at TRG, and these were at Redondo Beach areas where every other home is owned by a realtor or a friend of a realtor. So you can do this, and this is a great way to do that niche marketing with a geographical farm. And John's available. He actually opened up, his goal was to open up his own brokerage. He's got a small independent brokerage. We're going to lunch next week. He'll be glad to go to lunch with you. So offer to buy him lunch if you decide that you want to do this. and he'll share his thoughts on this this type of farming. Okay, so before we close here, I want to go into some charting of your prospecting. Any other questions?
I was just going to ask, if we were to talk to Robert Noah about this program, what language would I use? I don't even know
Well,
how to
Danny's-
ask for this.
Yeah, it's called the most likely to sell. And so Danny's actually pulling this up in an area, and it gives oh, so this is 90504, 90504. It's called the Smart Farm.
It's just single family.
And this is single family. So again, you can specialize in units, whatever your niche is going to be. And they put I think it's is it a point system as to what the most likely to sell is?
Yes, you can see the average stay based on the title is 10 years.
All right, can you hear Danny up here? That average stay in this
Yes.
zip code, this is North Torrance, is 10.23 years. Turnover rate 5%. We have almost 2,500 records in here. So
99% of positive equity.
yeah, and so their analytics, when they choose their most likely to sell, it takes in everything of public record. So if there's a death, a divorce, bankruptcy, length of time that they've been there, the positive or negative equity that they show from, these are the original loans. So there's dozens of statistics that they use to compute what they think will be the most likely sell during this time frame. So this is a smart way to go into a large area of homes. This is a whole zip code that you're looking at 2,500 homes, and just hitting those top 100. Does it list them? Can you pull up the list? Okay, so they call it a hot list on this, and this is free, by the way, in this Smart Zip via Robert Noah at Stewart Title. So there's a couple hundred on this.
Yeah.
And is it sorted by their likelihood of selling, or is it just?
Estimated value.
Okay.
Just Excel.
Oh, okay. So go back a little bit, Danny. You'll see where it says hot under the probability score over here in that middle column. And I've seen some where they actually have a point system. Yeah. So this just uses it as a hot list. But depending on the type of software that you're doing, it may be on a point system, or here it's listed hot, cold, mild, right? So you should be focusing just on those hot buyers and getting to know them personally, making those 9 contacts for those. Hope that helped, Nicole.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Other questions? I see some more chats here. Okay. Also this chat from Nicole doing these custom cards with pics of the property. Yeah, I did that for absentee owners for units when I was first in the business. This is back before digital photography, and I would take my pictures to the 1 hour. That was when those 1 hour Photoshops first came up, and I would use them as postcards and mail them out to out-of-state owners and saying, hey, here's a picture that you might like to see what your property looks like, and if you'd like a complimentary market analysis, give me a call, and I would put together my booklet, and that supported me for a few years just in that niche of marketing to out-of-state investment owners, and these were small, typically 2 to 10 units.
That's exactly what I did. It's all for multi-units.
Yeah, you've got to have a good market analysis, because since you don't get to meet them face to face, you got to be able to wow them with that CMA that you're going to priority mail them so that they think that you're the best out there. And I'll be glad to help you with that
Thank you.
market analysis. Okay, so let's close out this. And when I was first in the business, at the very end of this booklet, there's this daily activity chart. My guru, my mentor was Tom Hopkins. And this is 100 years ago. But one of the biggest problems that a new agent has is, gee, I've been working hard, I've been doing open houses, I've been calling my sphere of influence, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I've gone 60 days and I haven't got a transaction. How do I judge how well I'm doing in this career? We're not getting a paycheck at the end of each week. In fact, we're not getting a paycheck at all until we actually have a transaction that closes escrow. So it was very difficult. I had a hard time justifying my work ethic and as to how many contacts I should be making, how much prospecting I should be doing. So the best one that I've seen to date, this was done actually back in the 1970s, was this Tom Hopkins daily activity graph. And if you look at this, you can see there's 31 days of the month. These are columns, and you give yourself a point for each of these things that you do down that left column. So if you go out and see it for sale by owner, on the first, you get a point. If you look at a new property, you get a point. For door knocking, you get a point for each person that you've talked to. Listing reduction, I get a kick out of this. Again, this was the 1970s. So this was a $500 or more listing price reduction. Today, that would be $5,000 or more. Or if you extended listings, open houses, each contact, you get a point. Cold calls, each one. Tom Hopkins was really big on personal thank you notes. So he would give you a point for each thank you note that you sent out. And he made it his business every night before he went to bed that he wrote out 10 personal thank you notes. And these are people that he ran into during the day. It could be colleagues, it could be new customers that he talked to on the phone or that he met in person knocking on doors. But he sent out 10 thank you notes every night. Phone canvassing, he wasn't big on that because one for each 10 that you talk to. All right, so you get an idea of a number of points here that you can make from your daily work. And then you chart that into a 90-day chart. Let's go back, Danny. So let me kind of throw this out. How many contacts do you have to make each day to be a top agent in this industry? And maybe the better question is, how many contacts do you think most agents do each day using this point system? Anybody want to volunteer and answer?
10.
I'm sorry, Nicole, how many?
10.
10? Yeah, I think most agents do less than 5 a day. They may do 10 or 15 in a week if they're doing an open house or they're doing some sort of prospecting. But there's not very many agents that are doing even 5 a day. And that's another reason why I was impressed when you were going to make those 25 contacts each day. So let's go down to this next chart. So this gives, and I apologize, this is the best, this is copyrighted 1976. I've used this so much, this is the best copy I have. So this gives you 4 areas. If you look at the bottom, 0 to 40 points, and this is 4 different agents. One agent is area 1, another agent is area 2, area 3, and area 4 down here. So under area 1, you can see how this agent, if you can put that cursor over that, Danny, you can see how he's got up to 15 in one day. His highest here is maybe 26 points, and then he dropped down to 0. Another day he did 25, 26. And then if you look on the very left, if you're getting those 25 points a day, which is what I'm hoping Nicole does, you're looking good. You're in the top 20% in the United States. So, you know, even though you're not getting that paycheck, you know that it's coming, that it's on the way if you can maintain that 25 points a day. Unfortunately, this guy in area 1, he's dropping down, and his average is probably in that 10 to 15 points a day. Whereas area 2 here, this agent in number 2, he's maintaining that 25, 30 contacts daily. So he is going to be a top producer. Area 3, you know, I can only hope and dream that our agents become this area 3. They're off the charts. They're doing 40 points or more per day, right? And some of these points can be made just by looking at properties. If you're going out and previewing property, Tom Hopkins gives you a point for each property that you preview. The idea is that you know what the inventory is, so that when you're talking to these buyers, you'll have an idea of what's actually out there. And unfortunately, this area 4, as he mentions up at the top here, this is the industry. No goals, no bad work habits, not just no work habits, but bad work habits. And they're probably only spending 20 minutes a day in front of somebody who could say yes to them. And that's the average. And that's what your competition is in this industry. So as I tell everybody, real estate has no competition, right? You just have to plan your work and work your plan. All right, so I'll hang around if you got questions. Yeah, we also have some good information in this prospecting booklet where you can make some goals for yourself. You're welcome to share those with me, but it's always nice to plan that work that plan. Okay, guys, appreciate you joining us in this Zoom meeting. I'm in the office. If you have any questions, give me a ring. Make it a great day.